Now, Daphnis and Chloe is one of the most brilliant pieces of music written for orchestra, and it demands a totally different kind of virtuosity, which you will see in display, the virtuosity of precision and color and a kind of exactness of color, of the orchestral color that is simply mind-blowing. Now, there is a story, it's a romance, and it's full of shepherds and nymphs and satyrs, and it was a story from 3rd century Greece, and I don't know about you, but when I hear shepherds and nymphs and satyrs, my eyes glaze over. I can never follow what's going on. Anyway, it's a love story. I was thinking of putting up a screen so you could follow the love story, but I realized that was a foolish thing to do because actually it doesn't matter. Yes, it's a story about thwarted love, and pirates carry off the maiden, and then the hero comes to the rescue, you know, all that stuff. And then they get married and live happily ever after. Whatever. But what is really exciting is the music, and the music is truly passionate music. It is just incredibly, extraordinarily beautiful. And I'm very, very excited about tonight, I want to tell you, because there are 12 members of a new choir that has been set up in Boston for homeless women. And it's being run by two of our assistants here in the Boston Philharmonic. And it's just so exciting. It's changed the lives of these women, and 12 of them are coming to the concert tonight. And for many of them, it's the first symphonic concert. So I can't wait for the experience of hearing this incredible music. So let's just find out what's really happened. This section of the music is the last part of the story. The story is almost over, and they just have to fix a couple of things, and then they'll all get married and live happily ever after. So if you get the beginning of the piece, it describes dawn, the beginning of the day, and the description in the score is, it's a ballet. Daphnis is lying at the mouth of the nymph's cave. Huh? Daphnis is still lying at the mouth of the nymph's cave. Well, who cares? But what it's really about is dawn. Now, what happens is this. The flutes, 2 flutes play, and then 2 clarinets go, and the harp, first harp, and the second harp, and then in the distance you have 4 violas, 2 cellos, and 3 horns playing this chord. That chord in the background, very softly. If you listen very carefully, you can hear that chord. And then in the basses, you have this figure. Now, I've only described to you what happens in the first 2 bars of this piece, all those things together. And our job is to make sure that you can hear all those things. That's the role here. And now comes the other stage direction. You know, he wrote, "No sound but the murmur of rivulets of dew flowing down over the rocks." That's interesting. Yeah, now we can get interested in that. That's what music can do. Music can create that amazing atmosphere so that in a few seconds you see this scene of incredible, this description of dawn, the murmur of rivulets of dew flowing over the rocks, the world of Ravel. And he does it better than anybody. And then suddenly you hear birds, choop, 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 clearly heard, and then sunlight penetrating through. A shepherd plays a pipe, and it says in the score, far away, but nobody ever does that because it's awfully awkward to take somebody off the stage and put them somewhere else. But we do it, and you're going to hear it from somewhere, I don't know where. And then another bird on the E-flat clarinet, another shepherd playing on a pipe. And then there's a beautiful outburst of tender music, and then the instruction is, they embrace fervently. Well, there are quite a number of opportunities for fervent embraces in this music. And then the instructions on the score say anxious and tense. The music is anxious and tense, and then the description says, anxiously he looks for Chloe, and you hear do 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 ba ba bi ba ba bi ba bi ba 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 bi ba. And then there's another moment when they fall into each other's arms, and my God, the music falls into each other's arms. Iridescent glory of sound, one of the great moments in all of Western music, when finally the sunlight pours in irresistible sounds. And for people who've never heard a symphony concert, it's just going to be unbelievably exciting. It's going to be overwhelming. The sound, the sheer beauty of a full orchestra in all its glory, there's nothing like it on earth. And that's what they're going to hear, and I'm so excited. It's a big orchestra. We need 9 percussion players, glockenspiel. Now, the next section, there's a little joining section with 2 oboes, and then comes a very interesting thing. This is the 2 say, dee do 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 dee do do dee do do, like shepherd's pipes. And then there was apparently some connection between Pan and Syrinx, and she rejects him, and he goes and gets a reed out of the bushes and makes himself a pipe, and then plays an exquisitely beautiful flute solo, which is one of the most famous flute solos in the entire world. Every flutist in the world, at every audition, for every orchestra, they have to play this great solo. And what I'm really happy about is that our flutist, who is a beautiful, beautiful player, Lisa, she's playing it exactly the way that Ravel wrote it. And that's very rare. If you know the piece, you'll be surprised at how precise the rhythms are, and she doesn't pull it around as most people do and make it into a kind of a solo concerto. She just plays what Ravel wrote, and it's exquisite. And the accompaniment is also particularly beautiful, pizzicato, great moment, unforgettable. And then the final section is the dance, the celebration of the marriage, and what you'll hear is this wonderful rhythm in 5. Diddly 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 doodly dudley, doodly diddly diddly dudley dudley, doodly diddly 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 dudley, always in 5. And what you're going to hear, the bacchanal at the end, is one of the great endings of any piece of music. And usually it's played very, very fast. And conductors love standing ovations. I don't know if you know about that, about conductors. They just love standing ovations. So if they play it very, very fast and very loud, the audience is more likely to rise up in the standing ovation. What I love is clarity. And in order to get clarity, I'm following Ravel's own tempo marking, which is much less driven, and what you will hear is all the rhythms and all the dynamics and all the colors, which is actually much more exciting than just playing it fast, because the excitement comes from the rhythm that you feel at the local level. So I want to tell you that the process of putting this piece together has given me at least a new respect, and my respect was already high for Ravel, but I think he belongs in the pantheon of the greatest composers. And this is one of the greatest pieces, and it makes enormous demands on the orchestra. I mean, really extraordinary demands, but very different demands from the music that we usually play, Shostakovich and Mahler and all those composers. It's just a very, very different thing. And the role of the conductor is quite different, because my role is to make sure that everything is heard. So this morning, while we were rehearsing, there were some bird calls here that just went quite audible. And so my job is to make sure that every single detail in this music is clearly heard, and that's what you will hear tonight. And I think it may be the most exact performance of this piece, certainly that I've ever heard. I'm very interested to know what you feel. So I ask you to lend us your ears, and we will fill them with Ravel's intricate beauty.